Welcome to Wellness Insights with Dr. Chalmers. I am Dr. Chalmers. So, people ask me all the time what my top three things for health is. Third changes quite a bit because depending on the person, maybe we'll go with sleep studies for right now. But the top two are always the same. Hyperbaric is the number one thing you can do for long-term health and wellness. Testosterone is number two. So today we're going to talk a little bit about hyperbaric. So when people come in and I treat them for COVID and they've been really bad, low, mid, pulse oxygen in the low 80s, 83, 84, 85, something like that. We've had several of these people come in or that I've worked with haven't necessarily come in the office. And they can't stand up. Like they can barely move without getting dizzy and passing out. We put them in hyperbaric and that's how we fixed them. We've worked with over 500 people for COVID. We haven't lost a single one yet. These real bad pulse ox issues, we toss them in hyperbaric, and that's the way we do it. Venting is fantastic for things like pneumonia because they're inside the lung, they're intrapleural, they're goo inside the lung, and it makes it hard for the lung to work. COVID issues are extrapleural, so they basically keep the oxygen from getting mixed in with the red blood cells, and so that's how we keep the oxygen out. So what we do with hyperbaric, the reason it works for COVID is the same reason it works for everything else, is I don't care about red blood cells. We're going to use 90-something% pure oxygen, 95% oxygen, and I'm going to use 1.4 ATA or atmospheric pressure, and we're going to force that oxygen into the plasma. So, under normal conditions, you can get up to 1,000% more oxygen to the tissue with hyperbaric than you can with just pure oxygen alone. And the reason is because you force it in the plasma, and so now the red blood cells and the plasma are carrying oxygen. So in COVID's case, we force it in the plasma, and the plasma now carries oxygen to the heart and the brain and the body is able to heal and get better, and everything moves forward. In a normal person, what ends up happening is all that reactive oxidative stress, all those free radicals, all those lactic acid, butyric acid, all the acid metabolic waste, all the crazy stuff that's in there, all of that starts to get denatured and destroyed by extra oxygen. So the hyperbaric can push enough oxygen there to destroy and move out all that other stuff. It can also so here's a really cool thing that it'll also do. What happens is that if you do this every day, the blood level, the oxygen level in your blood gets really high. And what your body notices is that the amount of oxygen in your blood vessels is really high, but the amount of oxygen in your tissues isn't as high. And so it says, how do we fix this problem? And so it starts growing the new blood vessels into the tissue. So your body will then create a little bit more blood, but we now have more pipes delivering fuel to the tissue. So we don't build up as much reactive oxidative stress. We don't build up as much lactic acid. We can carry more oxygen. We can function longer. We can function better. A lot of my pro athletes use this. This is how they get better endurance. We've had a lot of people who have COPD. We have a lot of people with all sorts of lung issues. This is how they fixed them. This is part of my big protocol for post-cancer. How do we keep the reactive oxidative stress, the free radicals, how do we keep those things from coming back and creating cancer again? Easy. We flood the body with oxygen. So this is one of those big things. Now, hyperbaric really got its name for diabetes. And the reason is because these guys with diabetes, they don't carry oxygen very well. So what would end up happening is they get a cut on their foot. That would normally heal, no big deal. However, because they have the diabetes and the oxygen doesn't flow well because the blood vessels are all messed up, they wouldn't get the oxygen to the tissue, so the tissue couldn't heal. And so it would become infected and it would just get worse and worse until they had to cut the foot off. You stick that same person in hyperbaric, their foot heals. They're good. Don't worry. So that research, that information should have led us all to understand how hypercritical hyperbaric function is, but it didn't. So maybe it's the price. Maybe it's the fact that you have to dedicate yourself to doing something for 45 minutes every day. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm going to tell you about it. If you choose to do it, great. If it's too expensive or you don't want to spend the time, okay, that's fine, whatever. But at least you know. Most of my CEOs who do this, they'll either get up in the morning or at the end of the day, and they'll jump in their chamber and they'll zip themselves up and they'll get going. And for 45 minutes or an hour, they'll answer all their emails they were normally going to answer anyway. They'll do all the stuff they were normally going to do, all their text messages, all that stuff. They'll just do all that anyway. I've had guys tell me that they take a bunch of Zoom calls in their chamber. Awesome. Fantastic. But they're getting it done every day. And so that's the big piece. So hyperbaric will fix all kinds of things. It will make life better. It can make the quality of life better. It will make your heart healthier. It will decrease reactive oxidative stress because it increases oxygenation. That's going to decrease your heart attack and stroke risk. It will help decrease Alzheimer's and dementia risk because, again, oxygen to the brain is super important. It just makes your athletic performance substantially better because you have more endurance, you have more oxygen in the tissue, less lactic acid, and so everything's going to work better. You're going to deliver more nutrients to your tissue because you have more blood vessels. So there's no real drawbacks to hyperbaric as far as long-term health. Now, the only drawbacks there are is you're in a bag. If you have claustrophobic issues, this might not be for you. If you have issues with pressurization on your ears, this might not be for you. And that's basically it. So if you have bad sinuses and you can never get your ears to clear on airplanes, this might not be for you. And if you have claustrophobic issues, this might not be for you. Outside of that, it's good for pretty much everybody. So I say pretty much, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I'm sure there's somebody out there who doesn't need it or shouldn't be doing it for some reason or other. But the vast majority of people should be doing hyperbaric. It's awesome. It'll help, like I said, a lot of different things. So if you have any questions about it or anything else, hit us up, questions@chalmerswellness.com. And if you're in the area and you want to come by and, try one out, we can chat. But anyway, if you have any questions, hit us up. If not, we can keep going and we can all get better together. Thanks.